Okay, so welcome everyone. Oh, here we go. Welcome everyone to the Environment Committee, the 3rd of September 2020. I've just got a few announcements to make to start with. First, some housekeeping announcements. This meeting is being recorded and streamed live on the Stroud District Council YouTube channel. Speaking, please ensure your microphone is on mute throughout the meeting unless you have been invited to speak. Remember to turn your microphone off when you've finished speaking. Only one person may speak at one time, and if you were to speak, please use the raised hand function. That's the blue hand function on Zoom. It can be found by clicking the participants button on the blue hand. If you can't find this, just wave your hand in front of the camera and hopefully someone will see you. Make sure you speak slowly and clearly and concisely. The chat function is only to be used by officers communicating with the chair to advise who is indicated to speak next. Please do not use it to send private messages as it will not be recorded on the live broadcast, and it can be distracting. When referring to specific reports, please mention the report page or slide, mention the details so we all know what members we're talking about, clear understanding what's being said. If we lose connection, then please bear with us. We will try and recover the meeting as soon as we can. Members lose their internet connection, I will pause the meeting for up to 5 minutes to determine whether the connection can be re-established, either by video technology or by telephone. If the connection is not restored, the meeting will continue provided the meeting is correct. So, agenda item number 1 is apologies. Do we have any apologies? I can't see anybody waving apologies. Gienna's not shaking her head, so that's fine. Declarations of interest. Any declarations of interest? Not that I'm aware of. Nobody's raised any declarations of interest. Okay, so that's okay. And what about? So we're then on to public. Minutes of the meeting of the 4th of June 2020. So do we have any comments on the minutes of this meeting? I'll go through the pages of it, and if people have got a comment on a particular page, please raise your hand. So page 1.
Sorry, Chair, it looks like the stream has stopped again, so I'm going to have to pause the meeting. Apologies. Let me get this sorted.
Okay. So we had got to minutes, agenda item number 4, I believe. Is somebody, where's Jenna? So
helps.
So I'll just flick through them if anybody's got any comments or changes. So page 1, page 2 includes the Horsley neighbourhood referendum on the development, the neighbourhood plan. Page 3 was the CAM neighbourhood development plan progress to referendum and the work programme and performance monitoring. Next page, page 5 was paper recycling contract and members' questions. There were no members' questions, so it's page 6 actually. And then the final page, page 7. Any comments? No. Would somebody like to move?
Happy to move it, Chair.
Thank you, Chris. A seconder, Nick Hurst, Councillor Nick Hurst. For this one, we won't take a roll call. We'll just take a vote. All those in favour? Everybody happy with that? Yes, thank you. That is taken as approved. So we now move on to the first substantive item, which is item number 5, which is the extension of public spaces protection orders related to control of dogs. This is Paul Bell is going to introduce this one.
Chair. Good evening, everybody.
Sorry, I called Bowden, not Bowlier. Sorry, I called you the wrong name. Paul, go on.
Hopefully everyone's had opportunity to read through the report item now. So just to give you a brief summary, back in December of last year, Dave Jackson presented a proposal to committee regarding the extension of public spaces protection orders relating to dog control. This would be for a further 3 years from their expiration on the 20th of October this year. Committee approved that and authorised officers to undertake the formal consultation and then present back to committee with the results. So just to go through the PSPOs as they are. So one relates to dog fouling. So the failure of a person in control of a dog to collect its feces on land open to within the district. The second PSPO relates to the requirement for a person in control of a dog to put it on a lead under the direction of an authorised officer of the council. The third relates to dog exclusion areas. So where someone in control of a dog has permitted that dog to enter land that dogs are not permitted to be. So for example, children's play areas or putting greens, that sort of thing. And the fourth PSPO relates to keeping dogs on leads in designated areas. So allotments, cemeteries, canal towpaths, designated cycle paths. So the consultation period ran from May until July of this year for 8 weeks. We consulted 71 formal bodies within the district, and we received 20 responses back from them. We also received 108 responses from members of the public. So just to go through and give you some of the headline figures. So for PSPO 1, so relating to the failure to remove feces, 96% of respondees were in favour of extending the PSPO. For PSPO 2, so the requirement to put a dog on a lead under direction, 99% of respondees were in favour of extending. For PSPO 3, the exclusion of dogs from certain areas, 98% were in favour of the extension. For PSPO 4, there were two options. One to leave the order unchanged, and one for an amended version, which removed the requirement for dogs to be kept on a lead on canal towpaths and designated cycle paths. So for the unchanged PSPO, 69% of respondees were in favour of extending, as opposed to only 31% in favour of the amended version. So based on that response, we would like to propose that committee endorses the proposal to extend the 4 PSPOs unchanged for a further 3 years from the 20th of October of this year.
Thank you, Paul. Thank you very much for that. So does anybody have any technical questions to Paul about the report? I can't see any blue hands, although, I've got Hayden waving. Hayden Sutton.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah,
yeah.
I hear you.
I've been a dog owner all my life, and I'm very responsible with them or him. I've had a dog since I was 21 years old. But I believe the district council own Victory Park in Keynes Cross, and I was down there the other morning, and people were just letting their dogs just roam all over the park and also do their feces, and they walk away. I sat there in the car and I could not believe it. This is totally irresponsible. Just in the interest of hygiene, dogs should not be allowed anywhere near playing fields. I was at Frumore Park, which I know is private because it belongs to Stroud Rugby Club. And two people came down, and it's even got a notice on the gate: no dogs permitted, even well-behaved ones. And there are people there just letting the dogs roam around. Where does one legally stand with it? Because unless you can actually see them doing their business or photograph it, you got no proof. I mean, it's where I am in Pagan Hill. I walk around with my dog in the mornings, and I usually have some strong pickup bags, and I often pick up other people's dogs' feces, and I don't think that's right.
No, I understand the frustration, and obviously, if an officer were to witness it, then we could take the action necessary. The difficulty we have is that we do get a number of reports. For example, I had a look at the data. We've had 203 complaints about dog fouling from 2019 to 2020. The difficulty we have is that for us to be able to take formal action, we need people to be able to stand up and provide us with a witness statement. And whenever we ask people to do so, they're just not prepared to provide that evidence for us to take a case forward. So it just comes back to officers being able to witness it, and we just can't be everywhere all the time to witness these things, unfortunately.
I totally appreciate that, because Stroud District Council is a huge area. But there's so many irresponsible dog owners. There are very responsible ones and a lot of irresponsible ones. Yeah, I know it's very difficult for you. Yeah, but I totally agree with the continuation of the proposals. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we are into questions still at the moment. Nobody's moved anything. So,
sorry.
But just picking up on Hayden's point there as a technical question, I think, Hayden, if you see if you're there regularly at the same time and you do see a regular dog walker letting their dog off and out with the guidance and legislation, and you're pretty confident that they do that every day, then it's worth contacting the animal welfare officers. And if you're not willing to act as an expert witness, they might go there and observe what's going on. But it does require evidence to take somebody to court. So if it's somebody regular, it's probably just worth tipping them off, and they'll see what they can do. I think that's probably fair enough, isn't it, Paul?
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you. Nick Hurst.
Thank you, Simon. I think you've probably answered my question in response to Hayden, actually, which was really going to be around enforcement and prosecution, and what teeth we have in the orders to actually pursue miscreants to ensure that they get the message that this is not acceptable.
Yeah, so if people are caught and we have the evidence to take it forward, the initial response is that we can issue a fixed penalty notice. There is a maximum level set at £100, but we have set ours at £75, which drops down to £50 if people pay it within 10 days. Looking back at the data, since 2013, we've issued 25 fixed penalty notices in respect of dog fouling alone. And one of the individuals that received an FPN during that period of time was caught for a second time. And we actually prosecuted that individual last July for failing to pick up after the dog had defecated. So we do have those powers, and we will use them when we have the evidence. But as I said before, the difficulty is that we can't always witness these things, and people aren't always prepared to follow up on any complaints that are made to us about it.
Thanks, Paul. And I think it's right in saying that that prosecution was successful, and there was a substantial fine to that person.
Absolutely, yeah. It was a £444 fine with a £44 victim surcharge and £593.40 costs.
So just under £1,000 for letting your dog foul, not an insubstantial sum if you're caught, and we've got witnesses. Great. Hayden Jones.
Thank you, Chair. My questions have already been answered. I communicate with Dave Jackson. I just wanted to thank Dave and Paul for answering my questions in detail prior to this meeting. So thank you.
Great. Okay. So if there are no more questions, I'll formally. Just one thing that just to say that I know when this report came to committee last time, subsequent to committee, I did get quite a lot of correspondence, both from dog owners and users of the canal towpath and the cycle trail, with quite strong views both ways, I have to say, about PSPO4. I did have to assure them that the committee decision last time wasn't a decision. It was, we were actually going out to consultation. We were keen to see what people thought. I think that's brought up again reflected in the split there. But clearly it is obvious that the overwhelming majority do seem to want to keep PSPO4 unchanged. So I will move the advice that the committee resolves to endorse the proposals of the 4 existing public space protection orders relating to dog control to be extended for a further period of 3 years from the 20th of October 2020. Do I have a seconder? In several places, Councillor Hayden Jones, I think, was first. So we now go to the vote. Jenna, do you want to?
Chair, sorry to interrupt.
Do you want to debate?
I didn't. No, well, I'd like to say something if we can. I didn't second.
Oh, sorry. Okay, so it's Hayden Sutton was saying. Sorry, I've got a limited view at the moment. So, okay, right, okay. So we've got a seconder. So we're now in debate. Sorry, Hayden Jones, you want to say something?
Thank you, Chair. I was slightly disappointed by the outcome, but I'm happy to. This is consultation. I'm happy to recognise that. I thought PSPO 1, 2, and 3 are slam dunk, I think would be the modern terminology, and I don't think anybody would object to any of those, and that's been discussed previously. I was slightly disappointed with you, Chair. I received a lot of communication on this issue when it came to us before, some time ago, people not very happy about the fact that they have to put their dogs on leads in certain areas, and they've behaved very responsibly, as I'm sure most of them have. I thought the proposal that the officers came up with, and in their words, it was logical, proportionate, and a targeted approach to the identified problem, because there were other mechanisms to address the shortcomings of those irresponsible few. And I like, I don't like rules for rules' sake. If they're going to do a job, then fine. If not, I would rather people have the freedom to behave themselves without rules that guide them. So I was slightly disappointed, but I do recognise this was a consultation, and there was a fairly decent majority in favour of keeping PSPO4 as it was. But I did think the revised proposal the officers came up with was a very good solution to an issue that was, of course, a little bit of angst amongst people when it came up before, and it would have addressed, I think, most of the issues the officers have encountered, and people on both sides of the argument who were for and against. So I was slightly disappointed, but I do recognise that it was a democratic consultation. I just wanted to say that.
Thank you very much. Thank you. That's really helpful on that. So I've got Nick Hurst to speak.
Thank you, Chair. Members will know that up here at Minchin Hampton, we have very, very specific problems in relation to the commons. And it's the dog fouling issues. And I'm very pleased to see the National Trust were on the list of consultees. And I imagine they probably had some fairly strong words to say about the whole matter. The problem up here is not, there is a major health issue problem because I can't remember the name of the parasite which gets passed on through dog feces, but there are known cases where animals, cows, have died up here because they have been infected, and the irresponsibility of people who don't pick up is one of the reasons why I don't have a dog is that it's almost impossible to pick up unless you've got the dog on a lead, because if the dog goes wandering off and does its business, I don't necessarily think you can get out there and find out where it's decided to dump. But however, I support the whole of this order, and if anything, I would have made it stronger. I would have probably increased the fines if I'm truly honest about it. Thank you.
Thank you, Nick. Does anybody else want to speak on this one? I can't see any other hands up, and Jenna's not indicating that anybody else is speaking. Okay, so I think just one point I'd like to make from the chair as the mover of the motion. One of the points that was raised during the consultation, which in regard to keeping dogs on a lead on the canal towpath, was also a dog safety issue, in that there was some concern of dogs being frightened by other dogs or cyclists or something and jumping in the canal, and then having great difficulty getting out. But I must admit, I've got some sympathy with other views in the more open areas. And as a cyclist along the canal towpath and the cycle track, it seems to be a split issue. Some dogs are really good under control, not on a lead, and some are it's best on a lead, and some of them, they run all over the place with these great long extending leads and get in front of your wheels no matter how slow you're going. So it is a difficult one, and it's a fine balance, but I think we all accept what the consultation has shown. So I would put it to the members that we'll vote on as set out in the resolution on the screen. So we now go to a vote. Jenna.
Councillor Brown.
Four.
4, thank you. Councillor Denny.
4.
4, Councillor Hall.
Abstain.
Abstain. Councillor Hurst.
4.
4. Councillor Jones.
Abstain.
Abstain. Councillor Pickering.
4.
4. Councillor Hayden Sutton.
4.
4. And Councillor Tomlin.
Jessica.
Oh, sorry, Jeff. Was that 4, Jessica? Sorry.
Abstain.
Abstain. Thank you.
Okay.
So that's 5 votes for, 3 votes abstain.
Okay, so that is carried. So thank you very much.
Yeah.
So we then move on to the next item on the agenda, which is the planning review panel update. So this is coming from Councillor Nigel Stoddart. Kenny, or is it Hayden going to give us a brief? We've got a paper. You can give us a comment, Nigel.
Hi, good evening, everybody. Paper was circulated in advance.
Yeah.
So I hope you've had a chance to have a look at it, give an outline of what we've been up to. You have 2 members present who sit on the PRP anyway, who can confirm it. So I think the situation is if you've any questions on it, perhaps you'd like to come forth with them, as it were.
Does anybody have any questions on the report that Nigel has submitted? Paul, Councillor Paul Denny.
So under obviously the new plans, and I know this is it's early days, so it's not even confirmed, or we haven't got much idea because it's only just come out. Growth areas. Now we can all assume where the growth areas are going to be, and I'm assuming it's going to be around Cam and some other places. Will the neighbourhood plans that many of our citizens have spent years and years working on, are they still going to hold sway under this new regime, or is that all just being swept aside and in a climate of anything goes?
I can't give you a definitive answer on that. So you'll know there's white papers out for consultation now, and there is a very large change proposed in proceedings on those white papers if they come to fruition. But as the consultation period doesn't finish until the 1st of October on one and the end of October on the 2nd, I can't give you a definitive answer because it could very easily mislead you. I apologise for that. I agree with you that the neighbourhood plans did take a lot of work and in some instances a lot of cost, and they shouldn't be disregarded. Unfortunately, it would appear that there's maybe a major change on the way, and whether they are scooped up in it or left behind, I honestly can't give you a definitive answer. I wish I could. It would probably make life easier for everybody.
Yeah, thanks, Nigel.
Yeah, I think Nigel's correct. I mean, I've read the second white paper, Plan for the Future, and it does talk about neighbourhood plans being important, and it seems to indicate they're going to be retained. But the interaction between neighbourhood plans and these 3 new planning zones is not clear, and it's, to me, I couldn't find that. So I think Nigel's right. There's a lack of clarity in the planning white paper in many of those things, and it is very high level. So I think some details required. I've got a question from Nick Hurst.
Not so much a question, Simon, more a comment on Nigel's response. My reading of the white paper is that NDPs, and to give Paul a little bit of reassurance, is that NDPs will be potentially reinforced in the remix. But I have to say, being a cynic, I suspect it's the democratic fig leaf to cover up some of the other things which are being dropped by the wayside.
Great, thank you. I think Hayden Jones.
Thanks, Chair. Again, it's not a question. It was only to follow up on what Nigel, Nick, and to Paul's question. I watched the Have We Got Planning News for You broadcast, and I think some others might have done on there, where they had the QC who was advising the committee or whoever it is that devised this white paper, and a question was put to him about NDPs. He offered reassurance that they were important and would be recognised. He was a little bit opaque about how they would be recognised, though. So I think they probably do recognise how important they are and how painful it would be should they suggest just ignoring them at this stage. But he was slightly opaque in how they would be recognised.
Yes, I think you're right. Yes, I think the key point about neighbourhood plans in regard to that is that if you've got an existing neighbourhood plan and neighbourhood plans are going to be retained, how much strength does that hold when the new system comes out? You can understand it in the next revision of the next neighbourhood plan having to be compliant with the new planning system, but it appears to be, in my view, a sort of grey area in that transition period, which is distinctly unhelpful. Any other questions for Nigel on the plan review panel? Great. I mean, just to say that the timetable with the local plan, it's very likely that we're going to need an extra Environment Committee meeting to agree the next stage of the local plan at some point. And before that, we're hoping to have an all-member briefing session, possibly the week before that. I don't think it's been finally confirmed, but we're talking sometime in early October for that. Right. The next member report was the Stroud Regeneration Committee report.
Chair, could I just say one more thing on this?
Yeah,
report?
sure. Yeah.
Thank you. I note in Nigel's useful report that it says in there the challenges ahead, and it mentions the submission of the plan will be delayed until March 2021 or May 2021. I think, I'm not sure if that, I mean, it says it quite factually there, but I'm not sure that's necessarily the case, because I think that, there were some concerns raised by it, and I know our leader of council did mention on a briefing we had previously as to whether that was possible, bearing in mind elections and things like that next year. So I think Chris was the one that raised the idea about having a dedicated meeting, and I think that will probably be quite an important one in terms of timescales, as well as the facts of the challenge that we've got in front of us as well. But I don't think that those two dates, Nigel, I think you will confirm, that's what Mark has put forward as possibilities rather than set in stone.
I may, Chair. I may come back on that.
Yes, Nigel, yes.
Just actually to confirm that the problem that exists now is with the white papers, no decision has actually been made, and until you've got the information from them, you're a little bit stuck. So what Hayden says is correct to the extent that it's not set in stone. It is a guidance, and we can't go further than that at the moment. Nothing's firmed up as a set date or even a set program. There's still more work to be done.
Yes, that's absolutely true. I did check with regard to decisions during the run-up to local elections, and obviously, if it's a material decision, there's an issue, but the actual final submission decision is just at the end of the final consultation. All the council does is acknowledge the consultation and submits it as is. So it's actually no change in the previous decision. So I've been advised that that's okay in the run-up to an election, because it's not a material decision. It's just a formal acknowledgement that's gone on, because the final consultation, we don't take any notice of what people have said. That's their submission to the inspector. Not that we don't take any notice, that's the submission to the inspector, because you're commenting then to the inspector with regard to the local plan for the final consultation, as I understand it. But it's always, yes, the government white paper has not helped in terms of timing and put everything, and I'm pleased that Nigel's keeping his finger on the pulse. Any other questions on that? No, as far as I'm aware, I haven't got any more questions. Right, okay, so
Chair,
thank you.
Councillor Hurst.
Councillor Hurst is indicating.
Oh, again. Oh, yes. Sorry, Nick.
Yes. Sorry, Simon.
Sorry, it just dropped off the bottom of my my page.
I have a habit of doing that. I do apologise.
That's all right. I can see your blue hand now. Yeah, it's all right. As I understand it, the white paper is a consultation document to which this council has to respond or produce a response. Nigel will correct me on this if I'm wrong, but presumably that response will be generated by the officers, and do we get a chance to see it before it goes off?
If I may, Chair, can you hear me?
Yes, that'd be great if you can comment.
I understand that the one requires response by the 1st of October, and PRP meets before then, so we will get to see a sight of that. The other one, the consultation doesn't end until the end of October. So what will come from that will not be known probably until later in the year. So as I understand the position, PRP will certainly see it. I don't know whether it fits in with the Environment Committee. I think PRP will probably see the collated response by the officers.
Brendan, you want to say something?
Thank you, Chairman.
Nick wants to come. Let Brendan speak, and then Nick can come back.
Okay, yes, it was to say, Chair, that there will be, as you indicated a few moments ago, a member briefing before the Environment Committee meeting on the 15th of October. The exact date to be confirmed. We're looking at the week starting at the 5th of October, I believe, looking at Jenna, but that will be a briefing that will consider the planning white paper, an all-member briefing, looking at the white paper and giving an opportunity for members to comment before that officer response goes in. So, and that briefing, the intention as well is to give a high-level overview of where we are with the local plan as well. So it's a lot of content there, but the intention is to have that all brought together in one briefing during that week of the 5th of October. Thank you, Chair.
That hadn't been confirmed.
No, it hasn't been confirmed as far as I'm aware.
If I may, the date that Brendan's just mentioned, the last date I heard was a possible all-member briefing at around the 20th of October. So if it's changed, then perhaps the sooner we're advised, the better.
Yes, I would agree. I think the idea is to get the all-member briefing in before Environment Committee on the 15th. But these are dates that are being floated, which I became aware of today. So, Nick,
if I may, Chairman, I'm very wary of giving any dates that aren't firm and any decisions that aren't firm on a public broadcast.
Yeah. Well, I think the key point is that it's a fast-moving target that the government have set us, and we also need to try and complete our local plan in time. But that's the best information we have. Nick, you want to come back?
Yeah, only a comment really, Simon. The question was asked really to confirm to the general public who are watching this broadcast that there is the democratic process is being followed, and to let them know how tight the timescales are. And I would ask that when those timescales are set or finally established in the programme, that we are given sufficient time to react, because it is very, very tight. There will be comments in all sorts of directions about all sorts of aspects of it. Personally, I think there are major errors in the white paper, but just to say that there are, there is this democratic process, and members of the public should be aware that they can contact their councillors and be part of that process.
Indeed. Thank you very much. And also, members of the public can comment on the white paper. Anybody can comment on it. And I will be commenting both in my personal capacity as well. Any other points on the planning review panel? None. Okay, thank you, Jenna. Okay, we'll move on. Thank you for that. Sorry, I just need to move my thing so I can see it in a better way. There we go. Right, Stroud Regeneration Committee, we circulated the report a bit late, sorry about that. That is the committee that replaces the Stroud Concordat. That considered two items principally. One on whether it would look at using citizens' jury to carry out consultation on traffic movements around Stroud, and the second one on the next phase of the signage in Stroud. The committee decided it wouldn't go with citizens' jury, and I believe there's a standard consultation out on traffic movements. I think it's either gone live on the Town Council website or it's going live. Perhaps Hayden will let us know as the Town Councillor. Any questions? I have no questions. No questions. Good. Okay, performance monitoring report. This is in the document pack. So this was compiled by Chris, Brian, Haydenson and Brendan. So has anybody got any questions on this they want to raise? Very comprehensive. Hayden, Sutton.
I think it's an excellent report, and many thanks to Brendan for such a comprehensive and clear explanation of where we are and also the financial implications. He must have done a lot of work on this, and just thank you very much for doing so. There is one little item on the Warm and Well Partnership area in Gloucestershire. And it's in here, it's saying that there was installed 1,175 heating systems in the area, but it's been advised there's 872 that they find it difficult to find suitable properties in off-gas areas. Well, we shouldn't be using gas now, surely. This creates CO2. There are heating systems, quite modern ones, without storage heaters. I know that a German firm produced them. They look just like ordinary radiators. They're very economical. Surely we should be going for that and not for more gas central heating because the amount of CO2 it produces. It's just a comment.
I would completely agree with you. But I gather this is a Warm and Well programme delivering government policy, and the government have yet to catch up with their own policy on phasing out gas boilers. But so there we are. Yes, you're absolutely right. I think the move will be to all electric heating in the future.
Yeah, thank you.
Any more comments? No. Okay, we'll move on to agenda item number 7, sorry. I don't know why I said 9. The work programme. So Brendan, do you want to introduce this?
Sorry, Chair, I thought I was on mute, but I wasn't. I think hopefully members will find it self-explanatory. There are this is a living document, as members well know. You can see the forthcoming meeting. The next meeting is in early December, and we've got some reports coming there. I've got nothing really further to add, Chair, except would welcome any comments and thoughts on any future items. There is one that's missing from there, just on immediate reflection. Those members that came to the climate strategy workshop at 5 o'clock today will know that I mentioned that the intent is to bring that strategy to full council in early 2021 for adoption. But prior to it going to full council, we believe that will need to come to the Environment Committee as well as probably other committees too, because of the nature of that strategy being across the whole authority. So that will need to go into the forward plan as a precursor to adoption by full council, and the likely date for that would be the December meeting. We may well still be at that stage making changes to the strategy as a result of the consultation that we're about to do over the coming autumn. But I just wanted to mention that, Chair. But other than that, would welcome any other comments on the forward plan. Thank you.
Do we have anybody got any comments? The one item that I think does need to come on is that the item added to the motion about paper recycling, in that the council was going to look at a high-level feasibility of a long-term option of having a sort, possibly buying some more land and actually having a sort facility at our yard, and I think that was due in early 2021.
Yes, indeed, Chair. Sorry, I forgot to mention that, and I know I can see Mike's in the room, as it were, and we had a discussion, Mike and I, about this the other day, about bringing that forward as an initial. I think it was an initial scoping feasibility piece of work, and that will inform the next steps if indeed it is deemed to be feasible. I don't know if Mike wants to comment on that, but certainly that the idea would be to bring that back in early 2021. Yeah.
20th of the 3rd, 21, Brendan.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mike.
Any other comments? No. Okay. Well, we note that, and so we then on to agenda item 8, which is members' questions. As far as I'm aware, there's no members' questions, and then we're on to notice of motion. So this is a motion put forward by Councillor Chris Brine. So we'll take this motion now. Chris, do you want to introduce us?
Thank you, sir, Simon. Yeah, would you like me to read the motion, or are members happy to take it as read and just let me speak to it?
I think
I've never done this before in my 25-year service on this council, put a motion to a committee or council. So it's new territory for me, Simon.
Okay. Well, you're proposing it, and I'm formally seconded it to get it on the agenda. So yes, just speak to it. I think we can take it as read. It's up on the screen.
Thank you, Simon. Yeah, basically, colleagues, what it's about really is trying to keep the profile of the Bristol Road station up where it belongs, you know, in everybody's thoughts and processes. The problem being is we know we're doing a lot of work within the local plan to promote the site, to protect the land, but it's not out there in the general public where we want to get people to buy into this. It makes absolute sense for the Bristol Road station to be reopened. If we think logically, at this moment in time, people wanting to travel southwest need to go to either Swindon or Gloucester to catch a train if they want to go through Stonehouse. It seems absolutely ridiculous. The station's there. There's a lot of public support for it now. I urge all members, please fill in the questionnaire. There is a petition which is on the system at the moment from the County Council trying to raise the profile. The only thing I will say, Simon, is since we submitted the motion, lots of people have spoke to me and said, where is Stroud Water? So there is some concern that maybe we should keep it as Bristol Road Station. So if anything, maybe a slight amendment to the wording to remove the word Stroud Water and put back Bristol Road, only because people in the locality are really struggling with trying to identify Stroud Water. You know, I'm more than happy to take any questions that any members may have about my motion. Thank you.
It actually says Bristol Road on the screen.
Yeah, but it's also Stroud Water. Hang on a minute. I'm reading it from my papers. I do apologise because I got all your pretty faces all over the motion on the screen.
It actually mentions both.
It's referred to as Stroud Station, Stroud Water Station.
Yeah, but he actually mentioned that the land at Bristol Road. So if anybody reading the motion, it's quite clear.
Yes,
I think it's well, I'm very relaxed about what it's called, to be quite honest.
So am I, but I don't want people to be confused, you know, the general public confused about where the station is. That was the point that was put to me, and I see some mileage in it, whereas people know it as Bristol Road Station. That would be my only comment.
Great. Okay, that's fine. I think just for smooth running, I think the fact that it says the land at Bristol Road Stonehouse and then talks about Stroud Water Station, it mentions both. So I think in terms of the motion, it's still talking about Bristol Road. So I think we're okay unless we want to have a minor amendment, which I don't really mind, but I think it mentions both. So I think we're clear on that, is my view of what I've got on the screen. Right, does anybody else want to speak to it? Any committee members want to speak to it? Paul Denny.
Yeah, I think because it does actually say, if you read it, sorry, the cat's climbed on me. It says the station should be referred to as Stroud Water Station. That's what it actually says in the motion. Now, if you put Stroud Water into Google Maps search, it actually drops the pin in the middle of the marina down by the Sharpness Canal, where the canal joins that. So and I can see what Chris is saying, and also I think with most stations, with most railway stations, they have to do what they say on the tin, and they are descriptive of where they are. Because if people that are not from the local area are trying to find out where the station is, if it says Bristol Road Stonehouse and they go, ooh, and they put that in Google, they'll find it. If they put Stroud Water, they'll think they're going to end up bobbing around in the middle of a marina by the canal. So I'd just like to motion to a slight amendment just to say the station should be referred to as Bristol Road Stonehouse Station rather than that. And apart from that, I'm fully for this because, to be honest with you, it's going to take a huge strain off Cam and Dursley, because anybody wanting to go south at the moment is driving or cycling to Cam and Dursley and filling the railway station up there, the car park, and it's causing chaos. So anything that helps to reduce that slightly, I'm absolutely for.
Thank you for that. So is that are you formally moving an amendment?
Yes.
So, I mean, the confusing thing is that traditionally it's always been known as Midland Road, even though it's away from Midland Road in Stonehouse. So Bristol Road is actually a new name for the station because it's off the new Bristol Road, but that's by the by. So are you suggesting that in the lining on the, I don't want to go into a whole debate about the name of the station in a much more substantive motion, but it said where it says allow the residents of Stroud to easier access the Birmingham line, full stop, and then delete the rest of that sentence.
Yeah, that would be good. That would take it out.
Yeah, I'm happy with that if Chris is.
Yeah, I'm happy with that. I was going to suggest that I was going to make that as a suggestion, actually.
Okay, fine.
Full stop after Birmingham line, then it says everything it needs to say, doesn't it?
Yeah, okay. Just clarifying the technology of that. As the seconder of the motion, I will take that as a friendly amendment. Thank you,
Simon.
I think the principle of supporting the station is probably more important. Right.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
Okay. I've now got Councillor Nick Hurst wants to speak and Hayden Sutton.
Are we in questions or debate, Simon, please?
Being as we've actually had an amendment, a friendly amendment moved, we're in debate.
Okay.
But I'll take a question, or you can ask Chris a question.
No, it's kind of around the plot, really.
I thought it might be.
I absolutely support Paul's point about taking pressure off Cam. I mean, that seems to me to be mind-bogglingly obvious. But of course, I do also have to suggest that we're not actually in the driving seat on this. It's going to be down to Network Rail. And if they're not on board with the idea, with the concept even of putting an extra station in on this line, then we're dead in the water. So I note, for instance, from the performance monitoring report that we put in £10,000 to Sustrans. Is that in relation to Charfield Station, or is that or possibility of a Charfield Station? And what happened to the possibility of a station north of Stonehouse up towards Public? So, given that this is essentially a Network Rail issue, I can see the absolute common sense of having an additional station at Stonehouse, because it gives you the opportunity to go to Stonehouse and select whichever way you want to go, north, south, or west, or east even. But of course, wherever this station goes and wherever it ends up, it is going to encourage development. Going back to the local plan, it's going to encourage development within its vicinity. And there are some monumental issues involved in all of this, quite apart from should it be in Bristol Road Stonehouse or not. So I'm not sure where we go with that.
Okay, thanks for that.
If I may come back, Simon, I hear what you're saying, Nick, but we are in a far stronger position now with the application for Bristol Road than we've ever been in the 20 years I've been pushing for this. 3 previous MPs have supported this. Unfortunately, Mr. Carmichael didn't initially, but when it came up to election time, he changed his mind and started to support it. David Drew have always supported it. Our current MP, Siobhan, is right behind it. What we're trying to do is, this is all about profile raising. I understand what you say, Network Rail will make the final decision. Yes, but we want to make the profile high enough so they consider it. You know, lots of working groups now is talking about support groups, talking about partnerships, economic partnerships. It's on everybody's agenda now. What we want to do is make sure that they understand that Stroud District Council supports the principle of the reopening. You know, that's all we can do is support the principle. You're absolutely right. We can't make it happen. But what we can do is support all the other agencies which are trying to enable this to happen. So that's the purpose of the motion, Nick. Not to make it happen. We can't do that. You're absolutely right. But it's about giving support to the agencies which are fighting hard to improve train networks across the UK, based on, you know, the reports we're getting about the amount of car use, all those types of things. Stonehouse has the largest industrial estate in the Stroud district. Wouldn't it be great for some of our international and national companies to have a station within walking distance of their premises? So that A, encourage employees to commute if they have to, instead of driving their cars. Also for customers and clients who can then travel by train to come to offices. There's so many possibilities. And yes, we have got a lot of housing in Stonehouse. It can't encourage any more. You know, we've got Eastington growing around us. So Stonehouse is well placed to have that station to go south, east, north and west, as you said. So that's why we're pushing hard for it. Times are changing. Stonehouse is changing. And I think the need for it is greater now than it ever was.
Thanks, Chris. I've now got Trevor Hall.
Yeah, well, obviously I'm going to support it. And you're right, we can't, Network Rail will make the decision. But what we need to do is to support the principle and also put pressure on Network Rail by getting people to sign the petition to say this is what the public wants. It also helps the environment because it gets, hopefully will get people out with their cars and using the train. So it's a win-win all round. So we need to be putting the pressure on to put the arguments forward. And I think it's something that we should be supporting.
Thanks, Trevor. Hayden Sutton.
Sorry.
Hayden.
You hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
I certainly support this. I mean, I can remember when the Bristol Road railway station was actually in operation, and with the huge development there is in the west of Stonehouse and the whole area, even people in Gloucester would probably like to come down and aboard the train to say to Bristol at the Bristol Road station, and I'm absolutely for it. And I think we just, with the as one said, with the actual industrial estate down there, and there's also the new football stadium for Forest Green. We'll probably be going down there. Supporters may use that station as well. I think we got enough pressure to put on the rail company to to put a good argument forward for it to be reopened.
Thank you. I've now got Hayden Jones.
Thank you, Chair. The last meeting I went to before lockdown came along, and Matty was there as well, and I think Matty has joined us. I think I saw a picture on there earlier. Was at the Stonehouse Court Hotel. There was a lot of people there, including numerous councillors and Mark Russell and others. Everyone supports it very strongly. We went and had a look at the station. This has got to be a good thing. The area, the 419 was described to me recently as the engine room of the Stroud district, and I think Chris just referred to, you know, the industrial estate and all the employment and what have you around there. This is an absolute no-brainer. Siobhan supports it, as Chris mentioned. There was a, you may remember, there was a, I think it was called Renewing Your Railway or some catchy little ditty like that the government put out not so long back about getting some quick funding to restart railways, and it had to go in by an MP, and Mark Russell and I helped a little bit put in that bid for Stonehouse and Sharpness. It wasn't accepted, but I'm reliably informed that was, as is the way with governments who seeking a bit of publicity perhaps, the stations that were going to get the funding were already earmarked. But I'm reliably informed Stonehouse is still very much on the list, and I think this is going to be something that we're all going to agree with. Stonehouse, Cam needs Stonehouse to have this extra station. The whole district does. The local plan needs it, and I think we will all push for it. And I will make sure as many people sign this petition as possible. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. Thank you. I'll go back to Nick Hurst.
Yeah, in spite of what I said earlier, I should be supporting it as well, Chris, because I do believe it's the right thing to do. But looking at the problems down at CAM, which Paul has correctly highlighted, are we confident we've got sufficient land adjoining the old station site to put in car parking? Chris, you know that area better than I do. So where do we sit on that?
The short answer is, Nick, yes.
Okay, so
Yeah.
And so really, the sooner we get on and designate a land use on it for reserve purposes, the better.
Thank you. Yes. Are there any other members of the committee wanting to speak? I don't think so. So I now invite other elected members.
Paul Denny is indicating.
Oh, again. Okay. Okay, Paul. I'm just to say, Matty, I know you're there. I'm waiting for all the committee members to finish speaking, and then I'm going to invite you to speak. Paul.
Yeah, I think Nick mentioned earlier about the £10,000 for the cycleway down between Wotton and and obviously, if there was a railway station at Charfield, then that would serve that community. But equally, that cycleway serves the people in Charfield, which is growing, and their kids now being able to cycle up to KLB school. So it's that cycleway is a dual purpose thing. And that was really all I was going to just point out, that thing. And then I thought, if we want a catchy ditty to go along with our thing, we could just call it, instead of Build Back Better, we could have Build Back Beecham.
Thank you for that, Paul. Okay, right. Any other committee members? No. Okay. Matty's waited very patiently, so I'm going to invite Matty Ross to speak. Matty.
Really kind of you, and thank you for that. I asked you before if I could speak jokingly, and you said, of course I will. So I came along, and I'm sorry I've been bobbing around. It's been a busy day. Thank you, members, for your support for this. It's something that I personally have been working on since the 90s with Stonehouse Town Council, on and off, and we didn't think we'd ever get this far, and it's just quite magical that we have. We don't want another station north of Stonehouse. I just don't think that would be a very good idea at all. It would take out Burdett Road, which is, smashing station in the middle of Stonehouse that's just had a tremendous amount of money being spent on it to extend the platform. So you now can get off the London trains anywhere instead of running from one end of the train to the other. And very much beautified by Stonehouse in Bloom, I think it's fair to say as well. As for housing, well, we've already got the housing at Great Oldbury, haven't we? And, it's almost within walking or jogging distance from the station, I have to say. They wouldn't even need a car park. I hope what's been said has reassured any of the doubters. And as for the petition is not easy to access, I think it's fair to say, but please persevere and encourage other people to persevere. I don't think the county council are making it easy for us, but they do need to be convinced. And I hope we can convince them, and your support tonight would be so much appreciated by the people of Stonehouse. Thank you very much for allowing me to speak at your meeting, Chair.
Thank you, Matty. If there's nobody else wanting to speak, I would just say that yes, I support this motion, and I think it's worth pointing out that it's really important that as a council we actually register our support for reopening of the station rather than just saying that we're safeguarding the land. So I think there's quite a difference there, and it has power and weight to officers responding to consultation documents from the county, and it gives a clear steer to the county and Network Rail that the district council is actively supporting this. And yes, Nick was right. There was a bid put in by Siobhan and various people and the town council as well. And although it didn't get the funding, it got a really encouraging letter back. In fact, it's the most encouraging letter I've seen from government or Network Rail about Stonehouse Station in 30 odd years. So it basically opened the door to say that with further work, there is definitely an opportunity to move the feasibility a stage forward. So I think that is important, and I would endorse all the other comments that the members have said. So I strongly urge everybody to support this motion. Chris, do you want to say anything else before we go to the vote?
No, Chair. I think everything has been said. Thank you very much. I just hope that all members are minded to support it. Thank you.
Great. Thank you very much. Jenna, should we go to the vote?
Councillor Brine.
For.
Councillor Denny.
For.
Councillor Hall.
For.
Councillor Hurst.
For.
Councillor Jones.
For.
Councillor Pickering.
For.
Councillor Sutton. Councillor Sutton.
Hayden, switch your mic on.
For.
Thank you. Councillor Tomlin.
For.
It's unanimous, Chair.
Great. Thank you very much. Thank you. That's been passed unanimously. And that, I believe, is the end of the business today. So thank you all very much for your participation and bearance with a few technical problems as we went along. I think that was a useful meeting. Thank you very much, and a good evening.
Good evening.